Greetings, designers. I am still drinking on yesterday's refill. I mean, it was so good to me. Just all the things that we talked about buried seasons. And as I was meditating, I just kept thinking, and I really couldn't shake the fact that we're always in the dirt. Like, when's the last time you've seen a tree that was uprooted and still alive? And P.S., we're trees of righteousness, so we're supposed to be buried. Hello. Man, and as I said, that just really had me thinking. And I came to this place where I was even more solid and secure in the fact that being buried is not punishment. Being buried is not saying that we did anything wrong. Being buried is not a bad place to be. And that's whether we are thinking about our whole lives or we are taking a piece of our life and we're thinking about our business or our family or what have you. Always a time to be buried. We should always be buried, always be covered. So good. It's so good because when we are buried, we are literally connected to the living water. Listen, if you're new here, I'm Sarissa Latoy. I'm the Dreamcaster. I'm an author, seasoned interior designer, and mentor to Christian interior designers like you. This is the Weekday Refill. This is a moment and an opportunity for us to pause, center on God, and refill so that we can serve from our overflow. Now let's go on ahead and dig into this buried season, this buriedness that the Lord has been unfolding to me. So, one of my favorite scriptures, and I want to read two scriptures for us now. The first one, Psalms 1 and 3, absolute favorite. He will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. And in whatever he does, he prospers. Ooh, so good to me. And then there's so much to unpack there, and I'm going to try to get through most of that today as quickly as I can. And then we're going to also go over to Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7 and 8. And there it says, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord and whose trust is the Lord. For he will be like a tree planted by the water that extends its roots by a stream and will not fear when the fire comes, but its leaves will be green, and it will not be anxious in a year of drought, nor cease to yield fruit." Ooh, both of those are also good, talking about the trees. And it gets me so excited talking about them, right? Because the Lord refers to us as trees of righteousness. So anytime I see an illustration in the word where it talks about trees, or I go out on the walk and I'm seeing some really cool trees or anything like that, I'm reminded that the Lord called us trees of righteousness. And so my heart, my ears, my soul, my spirit, my body perks up to, what can I learn from these trees? And what is God trying to say to me through these trees? Because this is how he refers to me in the word. This is how he refers to you in the word. And it's so good. So as I said, let's unpack and see what he has to say about that. And so the biggest thing that I am really settling in is that buried is not a grave. It's a gateway to growth. Like, we're supposed to be buried. In Jeremiah 17, we saw that it talked about its roots were literally stretching out to the water, right? If we're trees and if we're not buried, remember I said, what tree have you seen alive that was uprooted? None. Unless those roots where the tree was falling over. I've seen a couple of these happen. The tree fall over, the roots are up in the ground, and then that tree is like sending out new roots to get back down in the ground where the water is, where the wells of waters underground. Remember, in Genesis, that's before the flood, that is how the earth was being watered. That's how plant kind was being watered, was by the wells of water that were in the earth. And so that's super cool when we stop and we pause and we recognize that being buried is for our own good. It's so that we can grow. It's so that we can extend our roots. It's so that we can do more things. You know, some ways that we grow, I'm thinking of so many things right now, but one of the things that I can think of is that when we're young, as we're growing up, young adults, get engaged, get married. Now, you know, our roots are having to grow down and to have to expand so that we can take on a new role in life, right? First we were young girls, then we became young women, then we became wives, and as wives, that's a whole new level of capacity. Our canopy expands, and everything like that, because our area of influence expands, right? And then as we begin to be with our husband, be with our spouse, and as the Lord adds to our families and we get children, right? Then our capacity, our roots expand. As that baby's growing in our womb, our roots and our rootedness in terms of being mothers and being nurturing is expanding all the more. And then when this new baby enters the earth, on this side of the womb, our canopy has expanded even more so that we can cover that baby, so that we can love that child, and so that we can steward that child in the way in which God has called us to steward. It's something um, quite ethereal, quite natural, and just super God designed, the way women love their children and men love their children as well, because God is expanding their roots in that area as well. And then likewise, like that's life, that's family. But likewise in business, um as we grow in business, like the roots that you had when you were new in business look like one thing, whereas the roots that I have after being in business for 20 years are hardier, deeper, stronger, and more intricate. And as wide as the canopy goes, is as wide as the root structure goes, in order for it to be able to support what's on top. Our roots are so very, very, very important to us. And it's not just for stability, but it's also for sustainability, because the water that we need as trees, that we have access to when we're planted right by trees of by streams rather of water, by rivers of water. In order for us to access said water in the soil, our root system has to be able to grow out and grow towards that water in order for the whole plant to receive. Do you know that even when it rains and the water falls on the leaves, don't mind my notes, and the water falls on the leaves, the leaf itself does not absorb the water. What the leaves do, many leaves will take and tilt that water and drain it back down on the ground. It runs down the trunk of the tree, and then the roots feed on the water from the ground. And then there's a central vein. It's called a xylem. No, that's real sciencey, but it's a central vein within the tree that then draws the water up, converts it into sugars and things like this, and then that's what goes out and feeds the branches and the leaves. So cool. So you have to get the water from your root. You cannot get it from anything else that comes from the tree. The minerals, the water, the sustenance for life actually comes from the root. And that's why God does the hidden work first. That's why before you start your business, you should have some kind of plan in order. You should have your business plan. Before you start a new service, you need to at least have a great portion of how much are you going to charge? Who are you going to serve? How are you going to market? What type of intake forms are you going to need to do? What kind of deliverables are you going to give? What do those deliverables look like? What can you create and have developed already so that you can be prepared for the fruit? The roots are so important because that's when the big work happens first. Because, listen, growth downwards always precedes growth upwards. God goes down and out before he goes up and over. That's it. Because it's the down and out part that is able to support the weight of the up and over. And so that brings me to this other thing, because I want to talk again about being buried. So, like, buried is for life. We are buried for life. We are in a safe place with the Master, with the Lord and Savior for life, buried. But buried is twofold. And I had a friend that made a comment on one of the posts that I gave yesterday, and they were like, "Man, buried seasons, that's so cool, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, buried seasons." And this is, kind of where the meditation came from, because I was like, "Yeah, it's buried seasons, but we're also always buried. So Lord, like, help me differentiate between that. Let me not just leave us at buried seasons, but help us understand that we're buried for life." So there's a difference, right? So one, there's the buried for life. That's the state of being buried. We are buried. We are trees of righteousness. We have to remain buried. If we don't remain buried, we will die. That's period. And then there's buried seasons, right? So in trees, in plant life, the initial buried season that we all think of is the little bitty seed, right? The seed that grows into the sprout that you put into the ground. But the truth is that is not the only buried season. Seed form is not the only buried season. In fact, there's many other buried seasons. And many times in my business, I got to thinking to myself, whoo, that first time around, getting the business cards, getting started, getting the programming, knowing what programs I needed to use, having the paperwork set up, and this, that, and the third, and everything, all of my ducks in a row. I for some reason I felt like that was going to be the quote unquote darkest preparatory hour of my business, and I can tell you that is not the truth. Anytime I have leveled up, anytime I have gone forth to try it, to try to do more, because the Lord is calling me to do more and expanding my territory and able to be able to serve more people, I have always had to almost go back to square one, in a quiet place, reassess who am I called to serve, refine that, refine and redefine, like, those things, like, who am I called to serve? What do my services look like? I had to definitely refine my deliverables. How do I execute the project? I had to refine the level of service that I give so I can give deeper level, more boutique level service than what I was giving before, in order to attract the affluent clients and that I am able to attract now. I had to change the systems that I had underneath, and all of that took time. And all of that was literally in the dark and in the buried season. And I'll be honest with you, some of those things, nothing else was going on. And so I took that time that I had to do that. I even wrote my book in a buried season because nothing was going on in my business. And so, since nothing was going on, and I saw that as an opportunity, I said to the Lord, Lord, if you want me to write this book, and if you think that this is a good time for me to write this book, then let me be at peace so I can write this book in this particular season. And then when the time comes, then I can go and I can get more design clients. And y'all know what? He did just that. I was able to write my book in that season completely undisturbed by any of my design work. I had a project that was about to go into construction. However, they were waiting for materials to come in. It took me a week and a half to physically write this book. And in that week and a half time, and I'm sorry, it took a week and a half to write the book, and then it took another week and a half to edit the book and to illustrate the book. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when the Lord is able to stop that time, and when I was able to submit to the fact that I was in a buried season and not freak out because I didn't have any design work coming to me, which was my source of income, I was able to relax in the work that God was doing and do that work because He was expanding my roots. And out of that season is when I really began to develop and answer the call to be a mentor to Christian designers. Prior to that, I have mentored designers before, fellow designers here and there before. But this was the season where I was like, you know what? I believe that this is what the Lord is calling me to do in my next. And as I wrote the book, I really realized that that was the direction that He was taking me in. Had it not been for that season, I wouldn't be here on these weekday refills with you today. That's the honest truth. What you see on this YouTube today is an outward expression of the roots that got developed about 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago this month when I wrote my book, Navigating the Liminal Places. And so I just say that that those types of buried seasons that it feels like nothing is going on, that's when so much is going on. There's root growth taking place. And the cool thing is that buried seasons are cyclical. One of the things that is really cool is that roots and fruit are not produced at the same time. Let me say that again. Roots and fruit are not produced at the same time. Why? Because it takes a lot of energy to produce, to cut through the ground, to see a rock, pass a rock, go around it, bypass it, cut through new soil, bore down through clay, get over, have your senses go to where you can stretch out and reach and find the water and keep going and cut through the dirt and all of that over and over again. That takes a lot. It also takes a lot for the plant to come up, to make a bud, for the bud to open, for the baby fruit to pop through, for the fruit to then continue to be fed by the tree to where it grows and grows and grows. It's still growing, it's still maturing. That's a lot of energy that the tree is giving off to produce the fruit. So much energy, y'all. I used to have a lemon tree, and unfortunately, she didn't make it through the major freeze of 2019. But I had this lemon tree, and when I got it, the lemon tree had one little baby lemon. And the lady at the nursery was like, look at this little baby lemon and watch this tree. Do not let this tree try to pop out another lemon right now. The tree is too young to produce fruit. And so she told me that if I saw another lemon come up on this tree, that I needed to prune it in order so that the tree didn't overwork itself and make itself sick trying to grow 2 pieces of fruit. Ultimately, that one piece of fruit did not produce. The tree ended up losing even the one lemon. But then the year after that, its leaves and it budded, and it produced a few more fruits. And it takes a while for trees to come to fruit maturation, and so you just have to be patient, right? But the really cool thing is that once a tree does reach, especially a lemon or any citrus tree, really any tree, reaches full maturation, in order for it to be able to produce fruit, like, you literally can't make it not produce fruit. It's wild how much fruit you can get from a tree. Absolutely wild. But that's a lot of activity. So that all that fruiting and all that rooting cannot happen at the same time. The tree would not be able to sustain that, period. So in order to help a tree sustain and maintain long life, the Lord has created cycles. And so just like we have seed time and harvest, we also have the root and the fruit cycles, where in one season, you're producing root, you're growing deeper roots, you're growing wider, more expansive underground, so that when the next season comes around, you can have fruit season and you can produce all the more fruit. They go together, but they can't go together at the same time, because that too would kill the tree. So this is, what am I saying? I'm saying that I have to remind myself, and I want for you to be reminded, that as we are moving and we are working in business and we are, working out our career, that we have to love every season that we're in, whether it's super fruity or it's super rooty. You got to love it, because if it's super rooty, I know that when the fruit season comes, baby, it's about to be real fruity and everybody gonna eat. I'm gonna eat, the kingdom's gonna eat, we're gonna eat, my neighbor's gonna eat, everybody's gonna eat. But I also know that that root season was real good, because I know that when the winds come, I'm stable. If it rains and downpours, I'm able. It's there. It's all there for us. All we have to do is be grateful for every season and understand that God created everything to run on cycles, and cycles are good. And this is a good cycle, because the more roots that God is developing in you, this is why you can worship God in any season, because the more roots that He is developing in you, through you, you can know with certainty that the fruit is coming. This is so good. Being buried is so good. Again, this is just, I'm going to recap. There's two forms or two ways in which we're buried. One, we're buried for life. You're a tree of righteousness. I'm a tree of righteousness. And as trees, we got to be buried. We're buried for life. Point number two, buried seasons are cyclical, and they prepare us for the capacity of our next fruitful season. We live buried and we die if uprooted. So stay buried, stay nourished, stay consistent, and then you will stay fruitful. Interior design is ministry, y'all. Whew, so good. And you and I, we're called to serve. So Design, Serve, Thrive. This has been your weekday refill, and I hope that this was as good to you as it was to me. If it was, I would love it if you would share this with other designers so that it can impact their lives and we can together build a community of Christian interior designers so that we can support and we can encourage one another in this world, that we can bring our light, that our light can so shine in all the earth as we go forth and we transform homes and we transform the spaces in which we live and work in as representatives of the one true God, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. That's all I got for you today. I'm looking forward to seeing you on tomorrow. This is Sarissa, and it has been a pleasure to have you here.